or within that same year. So these are our physical feelings or sensations. These are our emotional feelings, right? What kids call mad, sad, glad, afraid, and disgust, right? Those are the, and shame. Those are all the emotions that come from this part of the brain. And then the last, we share that all with all the mammals. And then the last to develop was our neocortex, which folds over our brain. And our knuckles down to here is our prefrontal cortex that helps us to make decisions. And that continues to develop until we're in our mid to late 20s. In fact, some people I don't think ever fully developed. That's why they end up acting like juveniles, right? So this is also the part that's responsible for social engagement and being able to be fully human and have friends and be part of a community and have a sense of belonging. I mean, the midbrain is the feeling good part, but this is what helps us to talk and make friends and do things together. So these brains developed at different times, and they develop at different times in humans. So over evolution, right? They developed, but they also develop as babies are born. They're born before they're even born. They have the primitive structures, and then it takes the connection and the bonding and the attachment with the parents to be able to develop the more sophisticated mammalian part. And then the neocortex is the last to develop, the cognition and all of that. So when we work with most therapies, psychotherapies I'm talking about, have traditionally worked with thoughts and words. Talk therapy, that's the language of the neocortex, and or the emotional brain, which is the midbrain, which talks with emotional feelings. But up until Peter Levine, I hadn't come across any therapies that talked about the physiology. And the physiology is what gets disrupted with trauma and stress. So when you have children in school and they have trauma, especially if that's all they know, their physiology is not working properly. And that zone of being able to rest and digest, what we call there's a zone of tolerance. They're not even in a normal, healthy, I shouldn't say normal, but a healthy band of tolerance where they can get excited and scared and then realize nothing's wrong and come back down and come into the rest and digest. Their nervous system may be set. Their set point is higher, so that the smallest little noise in the environment could cause them to punch somebody. I've seen this happen in the classroom. You know, as a school psychologist, they'd be asked to go in and observe a child, and they'd be taking tests in high school. And the kid I was observing, all of a sudden, the kid behind him got up to sharpen his pencil, and the kid jumped up out of his seat and turned around and punched the other kid before he could get to the pencil sharpener, because he thought he was being attacked. You know, these kinds of triggers are so common. So how do you take this into the schools?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the hard part. I don't have all the answers. I'm getting there. I do know that I've started a movement. I wanted to call this book a movement. That's why the subtitle is A Heart-Centered Movement, to wire well-being and also to promote kindness. And you have to have administrators that buy into it. I was just starting to write the book, and I was teaching in Auckland, New Zealand, and I had in my play shop, I had a principal and I had a teacher in my class. And they said, don't write it for teachers only. You have to write it for administrators, because if the administrator is not on board, it's going to be very hard for the school to implement. So I have found that there are certain schools that were already implementing some of the ideas from the first book, Trauma Through a Child's Eyes. One of them is the Momentous School. You might, in your research, you might want to go online and see what they're doing. It's in Dallas, Texas. It was started in it's a low socioeconomic area, and there is a group of what's it called? Oh, I forget, a salesmanship club or something? It's a group of very wealthy Texans. I don't know whether they're super wealthy. Let me tell you, they brought me out from California and paid me a lot of money to speak for an hour. Um, they had people, s the best and brightest from all over the United States. I felt very humbled and honored to be there. Um, I forget what that African American, the one that started the Poverty Law Center in, uh, after all the Kline hangings, Ku Klux Klan hangings back in the 70s. Um, I forget his name. He came and spoke, and these people from Washington D.C. were there. Anyway, I asked why they contacted me, the Momentous School conference, and they said because they were using the ideas from Trauma Through a Child's Eyes. They were using Dan Siegel's work, Bruce Perry's work, and my work in the classroom. And um, I I was lucky enough to teach enough people that were still in the schools that started to implement little ideas I had. So I did a lot of work in Texas. I taught in Austin, 7 generations of somatic experiencing, and I taught the play shop there once. And I had a social worker who was worked for communities in the schools, and she trained all the interns in all the schools in low SES areas that were the kids were dropping out, and the whole idea was to keep the kids in school and to help to disrupt the trauma cycles. And she's in this book. Did you read the book?
I've only read a little bit of it.
Well, there's so many ideas and there's ways to get started. And one of them is the sensation poster. Almost every counselor in the world has a feelings poster with the emotions, with nuances, irritated, boiling over, sad, confused, which is confused is actually a thought, it's not a feeling. Um, shame, uh concern, worried, all these little with kids' faces on them. She came up with a sensation poster that shows the body gestures, what the body looks like. And it's in the book. She gave me permission to use it. You can get a copy from her. She'll just charge you a little bit more than what the postage costs. And it's her, all the information's in here. She took the work into the schools. She made posters for every classroom, laminated on every wall in the schools, the low SES schools she worked in, and taught the teachers. She got the permission of the principals because she was the social worker for that school. And so you have to have the higher level people bring it into the teachers and then have the teachers all work together and brainstorm. And she also had me come back 3 months later to see how to answer people's questions, answer the teachers' questions and the social worker questions, right? So that's follow-up is really important. But she had the poster that's also in here that shows them how to take a pause, what I now call the weather report inside, to notice what's going on internally, to take a moment. You can put your hand on your heart, to ground, feel your feet on the floor, your seat in the chair, right? And do it right now. Put your hand on your heart. My heart's beating a little faster than normal because I always get excited about talking about a topic I'm passionate about and informing other people because I'm so happy and I can feel my heart now. It's warm, and how happy I am that I get to be with you, two gorgeous young people who are dedicating their life to stop the cycle of trauma, which is stopping the cycle of violence, right? So you understand what an important time we're living in. So if I stay with this a little bit, oh my gosh, a slight breath just comes in, a spontaneous breath. And I notice that I can be alert and relaxed and still happy and still have a warm heart. And now I'm noticing you even more. right? And now I can begin to connect with you more.
Mhm.
And I become more curious about you, right? So, and then for kids in the classroom, it's also suggested principle of SE is orienting, which is to turn our neck and to look around to make sure that we feel safe. And in turning our neck, we're actually stimulating the ventral vagal nerve that's bilateral. It's right next to the carotid artery, and it goes down both sides of our neck. It originates in the brainstem, and it regulates our heart and our breath. And when you turn your neck, and it's called biological orienting. Got from Peter Levine. Got this from the ethologist. That we look. Oh, I see a bird in the tree. I know that I'm home. I just got home from Istanbul. I'm still recovering from a head cold, but I know that I'm safe in my own home. And I see that it looks like spring today, even though it's autumn. The sun is shining, it's warm out, and the birds are singing. And I look around and I see uh, pictures of my ancestral lineage on the wall from both of my mother and father's side of the family, old pictures from the early 1900s. And here I am with you. So I orient to the outside, I orient to the inside first, and then to the outside, and then I orient to who I'm with. Right. So we're a group. We're a group starting a movement. So this on the wall, I suggested in my book that classroom teachers have these on the wall, and that there's through the PA system, the public announcement system, every school has them, that there are times during the day, like before and after recess, the start of the school day, when the kids come in after lunch, to have these pauses for the whole classroom to start to settle down and to get ready to learn, to optimize their brain development. When you talk about alert brain, principals listen, administrators listen. So one of the things I developed back, oh my gosh, it was so long ago. It was probably the late 1900s or early maybe 2000, when I was still just before I retired. I was asked to work with gangbangers who all were old enough for high school but didn't pass their exams, so they were left back a grade. And they were almost all boys and toughies, and they didn't want to be in school. And I was supposed to go in once a month and do something to help these kids. So what I did was I insisted on the teacher staying in the classroom so that he could practice what I was teaching the kids every day. And I just took a little Post-it pad and gave every kid a Post-it on their desk. And at the time, Phil Jackson, who was the coach of the Lakers, he had won 3 seasons in a row. And I had learned a little bit about his method. He had studied embodied meditation and taught his players how to meditate, how to take the time to go within, to spend time, so that they would optimize their performance. And so I told the kids that, but I didn't call it meditation, because at that time, like we're in 2023, in 2000, I would have gotten fired for using the word meditation in school, because for some reason it has some sort of a religious connotation. Anyway, I told the kids, I called it focus time. I just changed up the words, and I gave them something to focus on. I gave them specific things. I wrote it all up. The instructions are all in the book. I don't need to waste your time with it. Where they 1, 2, 3, 4, and told them that I was going to give them a quiz, that I know that they all failed. I always get their attention, and that I was there to help them succeed this year, but I had to start by giving them a quiz. And then I watch the nervous systems, and I see some of the kids just about, they're like, they want out of there. It's like, no way. Other kids, they perk up, right? So I want to take the kids that feel like